Welcome to Game 1 of the 2026 Stanley Cup Final. I want to wish both teams good luck. Take a look around, boys. What's better than this?
Well said from Chris Rooney, regarded as one of the great referees of all time. And the Stanley Cup Final is underway. The lineups are brought to you by Sleep Number. 12 of these Vegas Golden Knights have played in a Stanley Cup Final before. Only one changed their lineup tonight from that which finished off the Avalanche in the Western Conference Final. Jeremy Lauzon in on defense. They shoot and score on the first shot on goal. Nikolai Ehlers makes it 1-0 Canes 25 seconds in.
Quick early goal. The Stanley Cup opens up with a back hinge by Shea Theodore. He gets caught flat-footed. Nikolai Ehlers bolts by him, holds the puck the entire way down the ice. A free agent signing. Ehlers scores in his first shot in the finals. He beats Carter Hart cleanly the first shot Hart faces in the finals. And this place erupts. We've been in buildings, Sean, all over the playoffs. There's no building out of pure fan noise that is as loud as this one.
Ehlers, his fifth of the playoffs in 14 games. Again, the relentlessness and the speed on display right out of the gate. They scored 3 goals in the first period in each of the final 2 games of the series against Montreal in the conference final. Here's Taylor Hall playing it out for Carolina. It's driven back in by Noah Hanifin. Played in deeper by Mitch Marner. This is the 4th time in 8 seasons under Rod Brind'Amour that they had made it to the Eastern Conference Final. They're on the attack again. Played back to the line. Jacob Slavin across for Jalen Chatfield. Now Stankoven down low. And Slavin hit the goal post. 1-0 and very nearly 2-0 as Slavin, the veteran defenseman, went crashing toward the cage. Here's Stone trying to thread it through to Dylan Coghlan, who was briefly a Carolina Hurricane on defense for Vegas tonight. Thrown toward the net, and it wound up in the right wing corner. We mentioned the 4th time they were in the conference final in 8 years. The first time they made it past the conference final. And Ehlers a big reason why. In addition, in the offseason, as Ray said, as a free agent, along with K'Andre Miller on defense, who came in a trade from the Rangers.
This is the best Canes team they have ever assembled in the 8 years that Brind'Amour's been here.
We call Ehlers fly because of his skating ability. Braden McNabb out on defense now with Shea Theodore. They were on for the goal. Ehlers the goal from Slavin and Chatfield at 25 seconds of game 1.
They did this against Montreal. They scored at 33 seconds in game 1, although they ended up losing the game. But this is a fast-starting team.
That was their only loss in the postseason. Game 1 of the conference final against Montreal, when the Canes were working on 11 days of rest, probably too much time off. Back on it, Hanifin, who started his career here with Carolina. First 3 seasons of his career. One-timer shot wide by Ehlers. And kept in. Sean Walker played it in behind. Quick centering pass. Jordan Staal couldn't one-time it on net. And it's run down by K'Andre Miller. Crowd cheering the terrific start for Carolina. Picking up right where they left off when they dominated Montreal for the most part after losing game 1. Good pinch by Walker. He and Miller have been a dynamic pair on defense for Coach Brind'Amour. Miller's plus 14, best among all skaters in the playoffs, and Walker's plus 13.
They've only been on for 3 goals against, 5-on-5 in this playoffs. It's been a rock-solid pair.
There are times it seems like they have more than 5 skaters on the ice. Great long reach there by Slavin.
It's still, you know, it's a long series, and we look at this start, and it's a bit of a storm from the Hurricanes, as they call it. But Vegas just has to chip their way back into this game, make plays with the puck, but be ready that you don't have a lot of time to make that play.
Jacob Slavin, indirect pass, and they're offside. It was intended for Taylor Hall. Vegas coached by John Tortorella, who took over after Bruce Cassidy was fired. And a surprise to many, with 8 games left in the regular season. They went 7-0-1 to close out the regular season, and 12-4 here in the playoffs for the 67-year-old who won a cup back in 2004 with the Tampa Bay Lightning, trying to become the first head coach in NHL history to go 20 or more years between Stanley Cup championships.
They needed a bump, and Cassidy, who's a terrific coach, was let go, and the one thing that they felt was Vegas had gotten back on their heels a little passive. Tortorella wants them up the ice, he wants them aggressive, and they did that against a great Colorado team.
And by his own admission, he hasn't changed much. Tried to boost the confidence, encourage them to bring back some swagger. A lot of these players have a winning history. They just needed to refine what made them winners, and they have. And the return of Carter Hart in net, which has virtually coincided with Tortorella taking over, has been a huge key as well. McNabb flips it to center ice, played by Andrei Svechnikov. Part of the top line for Carolina, from whom Rod Brind'Amour is hoping for more. It's been the second line with Hall, Stankoven, and Blake that has really carried the load, with 19 goals in 13 games coming in. That puck was outside the line, brought back in by Nikishin for an offside. 8 years as the head coach, and in their 98 wins here in Carolina, he's been there are 100 wins. He's been a part of 98 of them.
There's been three coaches and captains that have done the same with their team. They were the captain of their team as a player, and then the coach. The last one to do it was Toe Blake in 1949. Rod Brind'Amour's got the chance
to win a Stanley Cup as a team captain and as the head coach. Pat Day and Cooney Weiland are the others, and as you said, it hasn't happened in more than 70 years. He would be the first Brind'Amour to pull off that double in the expansion era. Ivan Barbashev in on the forecheck, but it's Ehlers, didn't get it out. Pavel Dorofeev tipped by Barbashev. He has it off the back wall, threw it right through the blue paint. Barbashev tried to center. Martinook got in the way, and they counter quickly again. Jordan Martinook, along with Jordan Staal and Nikolai Ehlers, the line. Slavin, a shot handled by Carter Hart. Chose to come to Carolina. Slavin, that was blocked by Theodore at the bottom of the circle. Played ahead by Jack Eichel. And now Dorofeev, who is the leader in goals in these playoffs with 10, tied with his teammate Brett Howden. Eichel's the playoff leader in assists with 16. A prolific top line for Vegas. Ehlers played it ahead, bouncing puck past Martinook, hacked back in by McNabb, and Dorofeev was a mile offside.
Come on, boys.
The quest is nearing its conclusion. Go behind the scenes for every round of the Stanley Cup playoffs.
These experiences helps our game every single night.
From round 1 through the Stanley Cup final. Quest for the Stanley Cup, only on NHL YouTube.
Face off outside the line. Won by Stankoven, and it's swept in by Taylor Hall. At age 34, playing in his first Stanley Cup final for his 7th different NHL team. Jackson Blake, the 22-year-old. This has been the best line for Carolina, really the best line for any team in the playoffs. Miller's wrister handled by Carter Hart.
They still looked for one at the deadline. When they didn't get it, they're like, yeah, we're fine. Stankoven's been terrific. He's really keyed that line.
And for the most part, he's been a wing throughout his brief hockey life. Rod Brind'Amour raved this morning about how quickly he's adapted to center. Difficult position to play, a lot of responsibilities, and he's taken to it very well. Dylan Coghlan knocked down Sebastian Aho at the red line. That got a rise out of the crowd. 12.5 to go, first period. These two teams met twice in the regular season, but they were both in October more than 7 months ago. Not sure how relevant it is. There's a glove save. 3 goals in the playoffs for Jarvis, just 24 years old. But tonight playing in his 69th career playoff game. He said they've been a fixture 8 years in a row, not only in the playoffs, all 8 under Brind'Amour, but they've won a series in all 8. Hall off a setup from Blake had a chance out in front, and then his pass back to the point. Caromed off. William Karlsson went down to the Carolina end. Miller to Walker. Headmans, and it's shoveled in by Blake. They'll get a line change. Rasmus Andersson on it, but he lost the puck again to the forecheck. Keegan Colasar, the 4th line on for Vegas. Nick Dowd the center, and Cole Smith on the left, who managed to work it out in front. Played up but not out by Mark Jankowski. Both 4th lines are on. And a glove save made, an easy handle.
The Canes have built something here that is repeatable year after year. They have such a really good competitive team, and this is their first crack with Brind'Amour to the finals, and they feel so close, but man, 4 wins is a long way away for both of these teams.
They're off to a great start, carrying the play here early. Slavin shot blocked by Coghlan and swept from the net front by Jeremy Lauzon, as mentioned, is making his first appearance in more than a month. Drawing into the lineup tonight. Went out in the first round against Utah with an upper body injury. Cross ice pass batted down by Dorofeev, and it pinball right on net. A follow-up by Stahl blocked after a chance for Martinook off the turnover in front of the cage. Barbashev in with a rattling check. He leads these playoffs in hits with 84. Far and away #1 in the playoffs. His teammate Colasar's second was 70.
And Jordan Stahl, the oldest player in this final, has a chance on goal. They talk about him with such respect here in Carolina. The players, Rod Brind'Amour, they say leads by example. And 20 years in, Stahl has done a tremendous job here since he came over in that early career trade from Pittsburgh.
We played in 2 Stanley Cup finals, won one of them in 2009. Here's Svechnikov waiting for help, and his pass is intercepted and cleared by Colton Sisson. Shane Gostisbehere back on it. He has it back from Nikishin. And now Hall, nifty little spin move at the line, but nobody else in black in the offensive end. Hall delivers a check, and it got turned over to Theodore. He couldn't get it out with help from Brett Howden, and it's snapped back in by Miller. Hall touches up. Stankoven flying in on the forecheck. Ehlers the goal, 25 seconds in for the Hurricanes. If you're just tuning in, an electric start to game 1 for the home team. Karlsson lost the puck. Jackson Blake shot it back in. Hard out to play it. Braden McNabb out to center ice. McNabb, one of the 4 remaining original Golden Misfits from their first year when they went to the Stanley Cup final, and a big surprise to everybody, and lost to Washington. Alex Ovechkin in the Caps in 2018. Vegas returned to the final in 2023, beat Florida. So for McNabb and Theodore and Karlsson, Riley Smith, who is not dressed tonight, they go back to the beginning. Nikishin, 24-year-old Russian. It was lofted out and stopped in the corner. And Miller settles.
Now Carolina's had the puck about 10 of the first 12 minutes. It feels like everything up the ice, chip, go chase, or move it up the ice with speed. There's been no room yet for Vegas.
Yeah, it's totally different. And they've played teams known for their speed throughout these playoffs. The young
Look out.
Utah and Anaheim teams. Here's Ehlers again alone. Ehlers scores! Nikolai Ehlers, both goals, and it's 2-0.
You just cannot put the puck through the middle of the ice with no pace. Jack Eichel's long pass is easily picked off by Jalen Chatfield. Dorofeev is heading up the ice. As soon as it's intercepted, Chatfield finds Ehlers. There's no way they're going to catch him. The Eichel turnover spurs the fast break. One shot for Ehlers is a wrister over the pad. The deep through the 5-hole. The Canes have a quick 2-0 lead.
Second goal tonight for Ehlers. He had 2 goals, including their game winner in overtime in Game 2 against Montreal. You think about how big that was as Hall put it on net.
If Carolina's allowed to play up in the neutral zone like that in this series, it's not going to go well for Vegas.
We were starting to say before the breakaway by Ehlers, Utah fast, Anaheim fast. Many think Colorado, just in terms of up and down speed, might be the best skating team in league rate, but we saw that series all 4 games against the Avs, and this is completely different what Carolina's bringing tonight.
They're not so much a rush team. They're not so much a cycle team.
The second goal, Ehlers, is second of the night and 6th of the playoffs from Chatfield, who's assisted on both goals.
It's been a good week for Chatfield.
Yeah, sure has. He welcomed a baby. He was informed his wife, Drew, had gone into labor during Game 5, the clinching game against Montreal. He stayed, finished the game, and still made it to the hospital in time for the delivery of the baby. So he had a great night all the way around, and that has continued here tonight. McNabb to Theodore, they score! Might have been deflected out in front. Kolesar raised his hands as if he scored, and a big response by Vegas.
Oh, they're going to say this went off the Carolina defender. Sean, you're right. Kolesar got his arms up really quick. But this is what Vegas can do, is that Vegas will cycle the puck, hold the puck. This goes off the leg of Eric Robinson. Shea Theodore, who got beat on the first goal by Ehlers. His long shot goes through traffic. It's a low to high. So well done. Smith and McNabb exchange with Theodore. The long shot deflects in, and Carolina's taking a long look at whether this is goaltender interference. I don't think they're going to challenge it. I think it's a good move by Brind'Amour not to challenge this. The goal is in, they won't challenge, and it's Theodore making it 2-1. God, Vegas needed that. Bad
The rules
penalty.
expert Dave Jackson is here with us in Raleigh tonight. He said there's no
Way he would have challenged it, would have been unsuccessful. There are penalties here.
There's one here to Brett Howden as we look at the long shot from Theodore. It hits the leg of Robinson and beats a screened Freddie Anderson. Right in front of me moments later, Brett Howden's going to get his hands up high on Chatfield as Chatfield dumps the puck in. The stick and hands are up high. Chatfield sells it a little bit, but the first power play of the Stanley Cup final will go to Carolina. So this is a big moment here after Vegas got themselves back in the game.
Yeah, it is surprising. Regular season, at the end, they were 4th in the NHL on the power play, just under 25%. But it's gone cold in the playoffs. They did score a man-up goal in each of the last 2 games against Montreal. DeAndre Miller through a crowd that caroms into the corner. Picked up by Jackson Blake. And Lauzon has lost his stick on defense for Vegas. He is sliding in front of the blue paint without a stick. Blake played it in for Hall. Cross ice off a stick. And the shot blocked as Miller went creeping in closer. He'll reclaim his spot up on top of the power play. That is 1:20 remaining. Sissons trying to clear, and he did not. The long reach of Miller at 6'5" kept it in. Hall for Miller. Forced back by Dowd. Dowd and Sissons killing the penalty with McNabb and Lauzon, who does have a stick now. Cross-ice pass. Retrieved by Miller off the sidewall with 53 on the penalty to Howden. Jackson Blake dropped it back from Miller. That was blocked by Sissons. All 4 penalty killers head off for John Tortorella.
All zone time, 90 seconds almost for Carolina, but those killers for Vegas did a really good job of preventing that puck from getting to the front of the net. No real danger, no chance yet for Carolina.
Here's Gostisbehere leading the rush. Sebastian Aho went down as he went into the zone. Here's Ehlers. Already 2 goals in this first period. Ehlers at the dot, centering pass as it got 1 touch back toward the middle by Svechnikov. Final seconds of the power play for the Canes. Jarvis dropped it back. Gostisbehere lost it. Here's Howden just out of the box, already with 3 shorthanded goals in the playoffs. Centering pass, and it's at the post and smothered by Anderson. From McNabb and Smith at 13:28. Just 3 shots on goal for Vegas, but one of them got past Frederik Andersen. Ehlers started the scoring 25 seconds in. Just the 2nd player on record to score a goal on the first shot on goal of a Stanley Cup final. The other was Game 1, 2007, Mike Fisher for Ottawa against Anaheim. Here's a centering try. It didn't get out in front from Carlson. Now it does. Howden's turnaround shot got blocked by Chatfield. Played ahead to Slavin. Another breakaway. Stankoven. Stopped this time by Carter Hart.
Well, Vegas has got to start watching. That's a 2nd breakaway behind them. The Carolina forward escapes. This time Stankoven. That's a big stop for Carter Hart.
Sean Walker turned it back over to Stone. Rink wide, beautiful pass out in front, intended for Sissons, and he was well tied up by Walker. Now Aho to Sean Walker, and he snaps it in from the neutral zone. We're down to 3 minutes to go, and an entertaining and eventful first period of this Stanley Cup final. Stone just turned 34 years old, their franchise leader in playoff goals and points. Sebastian Aho is the same for Carolina, leads in all the major scoring categories, points, assists, and goals. McNabb up the wall, Stone ahead, broken up by Slavin. Slavin 6'3", and always seems to have his stick in the right place. One of the great defensive defensemen in the NHL. Member of Team USA that won the gold medal in Milan. Missed a lot at the beginning of this season for Carolina due to a lower body injury. Got back in time for the Olympics. Eichel lost the puck at the line, swept out by Chatfield. And Lauzon went racing for it. Here's Dowd trying to work it out, and he does. Dorofeev and Howden tied for the playoff lead with 10 goals, but Stankoven is right behind them with 9. And goals in each of their first 5 games of these playoffs. So a total of 6 goals in that span. Gostisbehere, and it's hacked ahead by Carrier. He and Stahl are the only Canes who have played in a Stanley Cup final. Carrier was in both of the previous Stanley Cup finals for Vegas. Won the cup with the VGK in 2023. Smith couldn't glove it down. Miller's on it for Stankoven. They don't waste any time. Rebound cleared away from harm by Theodore. Battle in the corner for the puck. Kolesar there, he worked it free. Keegan Kolesar up for Carlson. And now Blake with 40 seconds in the period. Miller for Stankoven. He couldn't get it in past Theodore. Sent in by Carlson. Then he got knocked off the play by Walker. Blake played it ahead. And a good check by Howden and knocked Stankoven off the puck, and he goes to the bench. Does Stankoven. Long hit ahead for Howden. It didn't connect, but wound up right on Anderson. 15 seconds in the period. Played up by Slavin, skated out by Svechnikov. 3-on-2 across the line. Centering pass blocked by Hanifin. And now Mitch Marner lofts it out. That'll be it for period one. 2 goals for Nikolai Ehlers in the first 12:08. The first one came 25 seconds in.
Certainly for John Tortorella in Vegas is to play up on their toes, to be aggressive, do not be passive. And for Carolina, I don't think they want to change anything. It's up, pressure, keep their D up in the middle of the ice so there's nowhere for Vegas to go.
Top line out for John Tortorella. The Eichel, Barbashev, Dorofeev line. Barbashev took it away. Eichel, tough angle shot. Lines up back near the point. Martin couldn't push it out. Now they score! Ivan Barbashev off the setup from Jack Eichel. And Vegas is even at 2-2.
25 seconds into the first period, Nikolai Ehlers scored. 30 seconds into period 2. Ivan Barbashev with a goal that looked very similar to his goal in game 2 in Colorado. He's going to fire a bullet. Forecheck, good play by McNabb as the puck's rimmed around the boards. It goes down to Eichel. And that soft spot up top of the circle where Barbashev is, Slavin can't get out there. That is identical to the goal that Barbashev scored in game 3 on Scott Wedgwood. It's 2-2, and it doesn't matter about Carolina's quick start anymore.
Yeah, they were all over the Golden Knights to start the game, but this veteran VGK team has settled in. Barbashev, his 6th of the playoffs, and here they come again. Howden's shot lines up off the back glass. Fred Howden tried to send it behind the net for Carlson. Walker got in the way. Now Howden has it back for Noah Hanifin. And back for Howden, centered for Carlson. It wound up with Blake. He looks to turn and go. DeAndre Miller, the defenseman, leading the rush. He sidestepped Noah Hanifin. Stankoven in the corner. Played up by Carlson. Played out by Howden into the skates of Marner. Barbashev from Eichel and McNabb. Braden McNabb is assisted on both goals. At 30 seconds of the second period, as Ray said, Ehlers' goal was at 25 seconds of the first period. Off the draw, Chatfield's shot blockered down. You want to scan that code on your screen. You can opt into breaking news alerts from Emily on the ESPN app. Stay up to date on the NHL news throughout the Stanley Cup final. Emily is plugged in as anyone for this Stanley Cup final. First time these two teams have met in the final. It's the 68th unique matchup in the history of the Cup final. Stone tried to work it in. Chatfield stopped him. Svechnikov forced back and played it rink wide. Played up by Slavin and touched in by Seth Jarvis. And Carter Hart leaves it for McNabb.
That top line for Carolina, if they are, is the Aho line, and again in that first period, nothing going for them.
And that Barbashev Eichel line with Dorofeev has the goal that tied it. They were on for both Carolina goals in the first period. They had been on only 3 times for an opponent's goal 5-on-5 through the first 16 playoff games. And they were on for 2 in the first period. But they have the equalizer, and that has quieted the crowd quite a bit. In one of the liveliest buildings in the NHL. I agree with what you said, Ray, in terms of just the crowd noise. This is the loudest. There are other places where they pipe in a lot of PA noise to make it louder. This place is electric. Martinook got knocked down by Hanifin. And we say that knowing it'll be deafeningly loud when we get to Vegas, as always. They get ready to host the Cup final for the 3rd time in 9 years. Walker played it off. Martinook. Rebound left by Hart as that one hit him in the midsection. Martinook pitches it around. And it was misplayed by Hall. And now sent ahead to Eichel, the 29-year-old. And a great play by Keandre Miller with that long reach. McNabb down low. Eichel! And it goes wide. Then he threw it into the circle. And it wound up with Jackson Blake. Blake across the line for Hall. And now it's pitched out by Marner. Stopped at the red line by Chatfield and snapped back in by Blake, who's the son of Jason Blake, played more than 900 games, or nearly 900, in the National Hockey League. Eichel cross corner, Chatfield there first. Slavin couldn't stop it. Marner picks it up, banks it in deeper for Carlson. Chatfield beat him to the puck, and a good thing for Carolina, as Howden would have been alone. I don't think Barbashev gets enough credit, Ray, for his physicality, and not just the number of hits, but how impactful they are in terms of causing turnovers and creating scoring chances for his team.
Natural centerman when he broke in with St. Louis. Barbashev's on the wing. I think that frees him up to be physical, to get in first, to make those contacts that create turnovers. He can really shoot the puck. We've seen it a couple times now in this playoffs. The guy is also built like a
Marner
milk
trying
truck.
to take it right to the net front. Now he centers, and they score! William Karlsson gives Vegas the lead.
This is great forecheck work off a lost draw. The quickness of Howden to get to the puck. The support of Marner to find William Karlsson in front of the net. And they've got the lead. They're out in front, and a team that can check when they have the lead.
Second of the playoffs for Karlsson, who was injured at the start of the playoffs after he missed most of the regular season. Went 6 months without playing. Here's Seth Jarvis trying to cut in, and that lane taken away by Jeremy Lauzon, and the puck iced. And Carter Hart loses his stick. It's free at the side of the circle. He'll be able to retrieve it now as the puck's played into the neutral zone. And Carolina's offside.
Pretty clearly, when they get to their forecheck, they feel they can break Carolina down. They've got 3 goals pretty much in similar fashion and now have the lead.
Reminiscent, Ray, to me, of Game 3 of the Western Conference Final with Colorado when they fell behind the Avalanche 3-0 at the end of the first period, but didn't panic. Came back, scored 5 straight goals, won 5-3 to take total control of that series. Chipped in by Barbashev and batted out of the air by Anderson. Right to Eichel. Didn't get a lot of the centering pass, and it got poked wide by Dorofeev. Now Eichel turns and fires. Dorofeev tried to jam it in front. Anderson was going post to post. Didn't look like he was sure where the puck was, as it was behind him. Great pressure by this line. Dorofeev lost it, just does keep it in shy of the line, and now it's out as it caromed off Martinook. Sent quickly back by Theodore. Played in by Barbashev, in to give Stahl a hit. Barbashev got the worst of that. He went down, and then Stahl followed him to the ice. Played in by Chatfield. The go-ahead goal for Vegas. Karlsson from Marner and Howden. 22nd point of the playoffs for Marner to lead all point scores. That's at .435. 3 unanswered goals for the Golden Knights. Swept in by Robinson. Here's William Carrier. Tried to feed the point. It was blocked by Dowd. Skated out, dumped in by Colasar. He goes off. And icing. These two teams hoping the crown is theirs, each trying to win the 2nd Stanley Cup in franchise history. Rasmus Anderson bounced it in behind, worked to the bottom of the circle by Howden. Anderson dropped it off, and the shot goes wide by Marner. There's a penalty coming here against Carolina. Marner plays it around, to the bench goes Hart. Extra skater is on. It's Eichel who jumps back over the boards. Anderson, it works to Hanifin. Eichel forced back. Karlsson alone. Marner. Now Hanifin off a setup from Anderson. Eichel. One-timer Hanifin. That got blocked by a sprawling defender. It was Nikishin. Backhand down low by Howden as the Canes play at the hooking call is made by Wes McCauley. Clean face-off win by Tomas Hertl. High forwards out there. Eichel for Stone. Some room. Centers hoping for Hertl. He got double teamed. And it's sent the length of the ice by Martinook. Vegas 23.9% in these playoffs. About what they managed in the regular season when they were 6th in the NHL with that 24.6. They've scored a power play goal in 7 of the last 9 games. They had a streak of 6 games in a row. Hertl. Dorothea played it back for Marner. High slot. Hertl dumped it off for Eichel. Stone. It caroms into the corner for Dorothea, who has 4 power play goals among his 10 in these playoffs. Eichel to Hertl right in the middle of the slot, and he's stopped. With the 29-game goalless drought, the last 20 of the regular season and 9 in the playoffs for Hertl. He managed 24 goals in the regular season. The second Stanley Cup final for him. He played briefly for San Jose back in 2016, got injured. Here's Eichel. Had to wait with the defenseman crawling by. The puck played back to Marner. Now Eichel. That one hit a body and then looked like it hit a goal post. Hertl behind the net. 25 seconds on the penalty to Jankowski. Marner, Hertl off for Dorothea. Hertl was wide open in the slot, elected not to shoot that time. Could have even moved in closer to the net. Hertl establishes the zone. Goes into the wall with Walker, and he got smashed. It got centered to Eichel. Couldn't get a shot off. Marner passes it to Stone. Across it goes for Anderson. And cleared away from the net front by Miller. They're back at even strength. Here's Jankowski just out of the box. Stopped at the line by Hanifin. 12 of the last 13 shot attempts have come off Vegas sticks. It's snapped back in. Stankoven on the forecheck. Blake tried to get it in front to Hall. It was alone on the weak side. It didn't get through, and it's cleared. And sent back in by Nikishin. Hart for Anderson. Came over in a trade in January from Calgary. Now Hanifin, like his D partner Anderson, another former Calgary Flame. Noah played there for 6 years. Completing his second full season with Vegas. Came over at the trade deadline in 2024. Popped in the air. Hall on his forehand. And the shot missed the short side. Chatfield pinches in. Puck battle with Barbashev. Chatfield, the defenseman, all the way in behind the goal line. Anderson for Sisson. Carlson to Barbashev. Working on Martinook, who's a forward. Back there is the last line of defense, and now Slavin there to help. 3-2 Vegas. They trailed 2-0 in the first 12 minutes plus of the first period. They have settled in. Sissons tried to get it back to the point. Svechnikov got in the way. Theodore, it clangs around. It gets scooped up by Walker, and he shovels it in.
A lot of what we saw from Vegas in the first period, we're now seeing from Carolina. They're not exiting with the puck on their stick. They don't have possession enough to be a threat.
Here's Smith, taken hard to the wall by Walker. Smith keeps the puck. Dowd couldn't play it. Now here's Carrier. Their players tangled up along the near wall. Crowd thinks there might be a fight between Smith and Walker. There is none. They continue to joust well behind the play as Carolina tries to work the puck out in front. And it got picked off by Dowd and played out by Smith. 7.5 to go, second period. At the line, Martinook couldn't play it in, then Hanifin whiffed on the clear, and they score! Jordan Staal takes advantage of the giveaway to tie the game at 3.
The Carolina captain, in his 20th year, makes no mistake. Hanifin's got the puck, as you mentioned. He tries to clear. Martinook's able to deflect it. When he deflects it, it doesn't come out of the zone. And Jordan Staal's got room. He's got his head up, and his shot beats the block of Coghlan and up over the blocker of Carter Hart. It's 3-3, and the building comes alive again as Vegas had just totally shut Carolina down for 10 minutes.
Yeah, they had taken control of the game, but the Staal goal has tied it. His 3rd goal of the playoffs, his 3rd in a Stanley Cup final, but as we said, he hasn't played in a Cup final since 2009, when he was 20 years old, playing for the Pittsburgh Penguins. Wraparound try by Ehlers. It rolled off his stick. Chatfield played it in behind, and Staal spun off the puck by McNabb. Barbashev headmans. Chatfield kept it in. Chatfield had to wait a long time to establish himself as an every-night player for Carolina, but he has, at age 30, a terrific partner of Slavin. Aho in the corner. Up the wall, Chatfield couldn't keep it in. Moved it quickly to Jarvis and on to Svechnikov. Forced back by Theodore, who has it now with 6:20 to go in the second period. Each team has had the lead, and now we're tied at 3 with the puck out of the rink with 6:17 to go in the second.
Carolina had given up 2 goals against or less in 12 of their 13 games. All 12 wins, they gave up 2 goals or less. Vegas has given up 3 goals in 10 of the last 11 or less. And here we are tied 3-3 with 6 minutes left in the second.
We think of these as 2 tenacious, clamped down defensive teams, and they are, but they also go up and down and create a lot of opportunities, in large part off the defense, off turnovers, and occasionally off the rush. Hanifin, who probably doesn't feel very good right now after that giveaway, is controlled by Carolina. Here's Hall trying to burst through a couple of Knights and could not. And that one's out of the rink. Chatfield ahead for Blake. To the line, played back by Hanifin. No on it now. Member of the gold medal winning Team USA in the Olympics in Milan in February, trying to pull off a rare double with the Olympic gold medal and a Stanley Cup in the same year. That one snapped over the net by Taylor Hall. Of course, Jack Eichel has a chance to do that as well for Vegas. He was on the gold medal Team USA, as was Jacob Slavin of Carolina. Here's a hit ahead for Stankoven, had trouble accepting the pass. A momentary bobble allowed McNabb to get back. Then Theodore stuck in the right place to stop a centering feed for Hall. Room for Barbashev, but he couldn't handle the pass. Now Walker with 4:35 to go in the period. By the way, Ken Morrow, the only American who ever won a gold medal in a Stanley Cup final. Still so shocking and incredibly tragic.
We send our best to the Lemieux family, and that man was a ferocious competitor.
4 times the Stanley Cup champion, at his best in the biggest moments. And I think indicative of the kind of relationship they had. Freddie Anderson told the story as Martin sends it cross ice. And Claude Lemieux brought the torch into the arena in Montreal before one of the games in the conference final against Carolina. All-time Montreal legend. And he reached out to Anderson before to make sure it was okay. Carter Hart, an arm save on a shot by Martinook. Good pressure here. And Frederick Anderson told him, "I appreciate you checking with me, but of course it's okay. You're a legend. It's a great honor to bring that torch in." And then just a couple of days later, he got the news of the shocking, tragic death of Claude Lemieux by suicide at the age of 60. His family has donated his brain to the center at Boston University where they're studying CTE. Here's Nikishin back on it. Up the near wall for Carrier, who was well tied up by Lauzon. 12 of the Vegas skaters tonight have played in the Stanley Cup final before. Lauzon is not one of them. He was with the Boston Bruins in 2018-19, but did not play in the Stanley Cup final against St. Louis. Won by the Blues and Ivan Barbashev. McNabb went down and lost his stick. Jarvis centers, and Hurdle got in the way.
Man, Jarvis got to drive that puck to the net. They're pressing this line, looking for the perfect play. The perfect play was for Jarvis to shoot it.
Jarvis blocks the try by Hurdle, sends it rink wide for Stone. The return feed didn't connect. It's dumped in. Here's Aho, who lifted it over the net. 3-3 the score. Good hustle to prevent an icing by Smith. Now the neutral zone. Hanifin lost his balance for a moment. Aho drops it off. Svechnikov couldn't one-time it as it went through him at the face-off dot. Banked out by Dowd. Snapped back in by Walker. Delayed offside here against Carolina. Called now. Jordan Staal, the captain, with the game-tying goal, seeing his second Stanley Cup title. His first, as we said, was in 09 with Pittsburgh 17 years ago. If they win it, that'll be the longest gap for a player between his first and second Stanley Cup title in NHL history. The current mark is 16 by the great Chris Chelios. Here's a penalty for a trip as Barbashev was sent sprawling, and Vegas will go back on the power play with 1:25 to go in the period.
Turnover.
Carolina number 5, 2 minutes tripping.
Chatfield ends up tripping the Vegas forward. Hurdles, or Barbashev rather, the puck it deflects off of Barbashev, and as he chases the puck down, Chatfield wants to play the puck. He gets his stick down, ends up tripping him up, and the second Vegas power play of this period.
Hurdle went to his knees to control the draw, and then it's poked out by Martin, who goes racing for it. Takes a bit of a dive. The crowd thought he was tripped. Didn't look like it from here. And Wes McCauley and Chris Rooney didn't think it was. Here's Marner. As we approach a minute to go in the second period, tied at 3. Hurdle for Marner. Touched it off to Eichel, the man up high. He lets it go through a crowd past the sprawling Staal.
Second goal post of the period for Eichel.
Hurdle, Marner calling for the puck. Has trouble with a bouncer. 43 in the period. Marner lets it fly over the net. Eichel in a race with Martinov. Slavin there. And now Hurdle trying to play it back. Staal got in the way. Marner keeps it in. Walks in. Marner past Hurdle to Eichel. 27 in the period. Marner moves it to Dorofeev, and a stop by Anderson. And now the net is loose as Stone got knocked into the cage, and a stoppage. The clock operator didn't hear the whistle.
That'll do it.
13 seconds in the period. Theodore out on the power play now. Carlson on the forecheck. 5 seconds. Bouncing puck. Shot wide by Anderson, and that's the period as Carlson tried to center. So the Chatfield penalty will carry over to the third period with 35 seconds to serve.
2 players I'm looking at here in the third period. Sebastian Aho, Carolina's leading scorer, has been really quiet. Has not really impacted the game at all. Jack Eichel has an assist. He had 6 shot attempts, hit 2 goal posts in that second period. Vegas starts on the power play, but Eichel has started to play a big part of this game.
25 seconds left on the penalty to Chatfield. It carries over from the second period. Martinook went down and lost his stick. He heads to the bench. Gets a new stick and stays on. Here's Dorofeev. Shot it wide from a great spot right at the dot. 5 seconds and Chatfield's out. Dorofeev nudged by Slavin. Stone tried to stop. Walker got in the way. Chatfield's out. Vegas had one shot on goal in the entirety of that power play, which spanned 2 periods. Down low, Dorofeev. It rolled off his stick, but wound up with Carlson. And Anderson went sprawling across to make the save. Carlson. And now Tomas Hertl. Centered. Good tie up by Walker on Carlson. Walker, a very physical presence. He's often out there against the top players on the other side. Theodore snapped it wide, hard off the back wall. Chatfield didn't get it out. McNabb for Theodore. Nice move down low. They score! Tipped in by Brett Howden. And it's 4-3 Vegas.
It's Brett Howden. Chatfield doesn't get this puck out. And Theodore's nice little move opens up Howden. 3 assists for Braden McNabb, if you will. But Brent Howden's got his 11th of the playoffs. He goes to the net. He deflects it in. And of those 11 goals for Howden, 8 of them are on the road. And Vegas has the lead again.
11 goals in 17 games in the playoffs. He had 12 goals in the regular season in 58 games. Here's Carolina trying to respond. Robinson put a shot on. Eric's shot was blocked by Hart. Gostisbehere. That was stopped up high by Colton Sissons. Good stick lift by Carrier to win the puck. Banks it back to the line. Nikishin sent it back in for Robinson. He played 4 years at Princeton and was the captain of the Tigers his senior year. Rasmus Anderson. It's touched in by Smith. And now moved up and along by Nikishin. Theodore the pinch. Smith sent it to an open wall. And it's played there by Aho. Oh, he has it taken away by Dorofeev. And a shot right on. Saved by Anderson. Aho's struggles continue. Centering try for Eichel. He was tied up. Theodore has it carry him off the skate. Scooped up by Barbashev. Tried for Eichel. He got ridden all the way to the near wall by Aho. Eichel wins the puck. Now pestered by Keandre Miller. And it comes to Jarvis 2-on-2 across the red line with Svechnikov. But a good stick by Shea Theodore. And a rink-wide pass knocked down by a high stick.
Each team has turned the puck over. Each team's been burned on.
Marner tips it in. It bounces past Frederik Andersen. Walker moved it up the wall, sent back around by Howden. Now Hall lost it to Rasmus Anderson. He put it out in front. Backhand and a stop by Anderson on a try by Howden. And Howden got knocked down. Howden again. Anderson threw it out in front. Marner trying to tip it. He was handled out in front by Walker. Back the other way, Hall jams the brakes on. Hanifin right there. Stankoven with some room. More room now for Blake. Drops it off for Miller. It winds up off the back wall. Hall played it back for Miller. Now Hall. And it goes outside the line, and Hall goes off. Slavin waits for his mates to clear the entry. And now Blake shoved, keeps the puck in behind for Stankoven. He was the biggest piece that came to them when they traded Rantanen on to Dallas. One-timer by Blake was stopped by Hart, and the puck winds up out of the rink.
12 in the regular season, 11 right now.
Remarkable, and as you said, McNabb the assist. This is the first Stanley Cup playoff final game ever when a goal has been scored in the first 30 seconds of the first 2 periods. Never happened before in 556 Stanley Cup final games. This is number 556. No icing. Theodore with his longtime teammate Will Carrier right on his tail. Touched in by Stone. and Anderson out to play. They added an assist on the Howden goal to Theodore. So he has a goal and an assist tonight. With some speed, here's Ehlers. Off for Stahl. And a stop made by Hart. Banked back for Walker. Thrown toward the net. And it winds up out of the rink with 15:07 to go in the third. Banked up and out by Marner. Sent in deeper by Howden, who now is all alone, leading all goal scorers in these playoffs. He centers one, bouncing puck. Marner possesses. Theodore kept it in. Slavin and Carlson hold each other off. Chatfield nearly turned it over to Marner, went past him. Now Aho snapped it ahead for Jarvis, but he got forced back out of the zone by Theodore. It comes to McNabb. Mentioned a 3-assist game, Ray. This is his 120th playoff game, and he's played in 885 in the regular season.
I don't think anyone was thinking he was going to throw a 3-spot up on the board. 3 apples tonight.
Now Miller with the crowd getting a little restless. Their team had a quick 2-0 lead on goals by Nikolai Ehlers. That one's out of the rink. Well, you understand the nerves. This is what these players have been dreaming of their entire lives. Jordan Martin talked eloquently about that this morning. You know, when you're playing on the pond as a kid, you score a goal, you're dreaming about scoring into the Stanley Cup final. Usually to win the Stanley Cup. Here's Dorofeev. And it was batted. A hand pass. And is there a penalty?
Oh, we've also got a penalty here.
Yeah. Chris Rooney, I think, saying he closed his hand on the puck.
Vegas penalty number 4, 2 minutes closing his hand on the puck.
Rasmus Anderson in the penalty box. Let's bring in Dave Jackson.
You're not so much closing your hand on the puck, it's what you do with the puck once you close your hand on it.
Carolina power play trying to tie this game. They led 2-0. They trailed 3-2. They tied it at 3. Vegas has reclaimed the lead on the Brett Howden goal. 0 for 1 tonight on the power play. Their playoff long struggles, a man up, continue.
No shots on that first power play either.
The old adage, though, you can win the Stanley Cup without a power play. You can't if you don't kill penalties. Here's Ehlers. Cross ice, missed Aho. And it'll be retrieved by Gostisbehere. Ordinarily their third pair defenseman, but frequently up top on the power play. Jarvis stuttered with the puck for a moment. Sloppy pass rink wide. Aho content to just one-handed in behind the net. Jarvis back for Gostisbehere, and now they can set up with 1:13 on the power play. And 13 minutes in the third period. Jarvis moved it quickly. Gostisbehere creeping in, shot by Jarvis, wound up over the net. He had Hart moving across quickly. Svechnikov, McNabb got there. Aho played it back to Gostisbehere. Across again for Jarvis, off his skates to Marner. Dangerous shorthanded. 2 of the best in the world, Eichel and Marner. Marner peels off. Eichel got a shot on. Anderson doesn't want to face off at his own end of the power play, so he dropped it. And they have 31 seconds on the penalty to Anderson.
Not very effective passing the puck. They've had 2 or 3 chances to create a shot, and the pass has not been on the tape. They're killing themselves on this power play. There's another.
And it's cleared by Stone. Vegas has 4 shorthanded goals in these playoffs. 3 of them by Brett Howden. 3 of his now 11 goals in the playoffs. Final seconds of the power play. Not a lot of power in it. No shots on goal. Anderson's out of the box. 11:45 to go, third period. Walker's try was off a leg in the side of the circle. Vegas had to be careful. A lot of men going on and off with the puck nearby. And it's lobbed out by Dowd. It'll be run down by Walker with Colton Sissons before check. Now Miller, badgered all the way by Sissons. He dumps it in and he goes off. Carrier doing the work with help from Jankowski. And it comes free to Sissons. To center ice it in, and he heads off. He sends Dorofeev, who will be first there. Took a nudge from Martinook. It squirts out to Barbashev. Bouncing puck. Played out of the rink by Jankowski. And the officials conferring it will not be a penalty. The indication from Chris Rooney.
Yeah, actually it is a penalty.
Oh, it is a penalty.
Yeah, that's Jankowski airmailed it. It's his.
Carolina penalty number 77, 2 minutes delay of game.
As Jankowski's trying to clear this out of the zone, he ends up airmailing this thing clean out of the rink. That'll be the second penalty tonight for Jankowski. This with 11 minutes left, a critical moment in the game. Vegas with a chance to take a 2-goal lead. Carolina needs a kill.
Jankowski in the box. Vegas 0 for 2. Only 2 shots on goal. And Chatfield scales at the length of the ice. Carter Hart out to play it. Former Philadelphia Flyer Hart, where he played for John Tortorella. Here's Dorofeev weaving through some traffic, and then a bad pass. Put it right onto the stick of Martinook. Now Marner with 10.5 to go in the third period. In his first year in Vegas, after 9 with Toronto, where he was the face of a lot of their playoff failures, he's been leading the way in this postseason for Vegas. In the playoffs every year in Toronto, never got past the second round. Here's a chance for Hurdle, and he missed the short side. Now Marner. It caroms to Aho, and ahead for Jarvis. Stone got back. Jarvis played it around for Aho. More than midway through the third period, and 50 seconds left on the Jankowski penalty. Here's Jarvis back in. He had it poked away by Eichel. Eichel has some skating room. Has Barbashev and Carlson with him. Carlson, the handoff for Barbashev. Theodore blocked up high. Eric Robinson couldn't rush away as Theodore got in the way. 25 on the power play for Vegas. Theodore for Howden. The handoff for Carlson, and off for Rasmus Anderson. Howden got checked and lost the puck. Another good check by Walker. Been a physical presence all night. The Canes clear, and they will survive this shorthand situation as Jankowski comes out of the box, and the penalty killing continues to be brilliant. Played in by Jeremy Lauzon.
Well, they called an icing here. The Vegas bench jumped up immediately. They don't love the call, but this faceoff will come back down into the Vegas end. They're all up in arms here at the bench. You don't generally see this. They're not happy. There's more than a few quizzical looks from Vegas at this time, and so now it's an offensive zone faceoff. Carolina's got their top scoring line out here for it.
They're telling us from Chuck he was definitely behind the red line. There was a good call on the icing. The puck worked toward the slot. Gostisbehere scores! Shane Gostisbehere has tied it at 4.
And as it works, Shane Gostisbehere's got the puck and he scores. Here's the icing clearly behind the line from Jeremy Lauzon as he backhands it in. They feel that they won the race to the puck. Gostisbehere will come in on a tied draw. Another goal on the blocker side of Carter Hart. Jordan Staal beat him on the blocker. Shane Gostisbehere beats him on the blocker. It's 4-4.
Boy, if you're not sound with the puck, you're scrambling in your own end against these teams, you're going to pay the price. Gostisbehere his third of the playoffs and a 4-game point streak for the 33-year-old.
A face-off win, but the puck is pushed to the middle by Jackson Blake.
Blake strong on his stick, strong enough to push it across, and Gostisbehere walks into it, sets it up, and beats Carter Hart. Man, this has turned into one crazy game.
The dandy to start this Stanley Cup final. K'Andre Miller looking for a tip from Jackson Blake. Tied at 4. They've gone back and forth all night. Hall's one-timer blocked by Noah Hanifin. Rink wide it comes to Rasmus Andersson. Gostisbehere from Stankoven and Blake at 11:19. It was 2-0 Carolina. It was 3-2 Vegas. It was 3-3. It was 4-3 Vegas. And now they're knotted at 4. Many of the fans on their feet here at Lenovo Center. Vegas player got there first.
Yeah, the way the puck bounced is different than what you can anticipate. A really tough call for Vegas. They didn't like it immediately, and as they protested, you know, it's still icing. They lose the face-off. A tied puck, a 50-50 puck, and Jackson Blake wins it. And then Gostisbehere ties the game. Now you got to regroup again. It is a slugfest here in Raleigh. William Karlsson is struggling a little bit here on the Vegas bench, by the way. He's getting some treatment on and off as he's not leaving the bench, so he's okay to go, but he's struggling a little bit.
Here's a centering try by Martinook. It's scooped up by Ehlers. Back of the line, Chatfield through a crowd and up in the air. Dorofeev couldn't get it out. Ehlers scored the first 2 goals of this game, bidding for a hat trick. And that one got blocked in front. There hasn't been a hat trick in a game 1 of a Stanley Cup final since Mike Bossy, one of the all-time greats, did it for the Islanders in 1982 against Vancouver. Many of the fans on their feet here in Raleigh as momentum has swung back to the home team. In the corner, Aho. That one sent in wide from the point by Walker. Hard pitch by Miller. It got played out, but Stone couldn't get to it. Now he does. Touched it off. Hurdle. Centers one. And Sissons is stopped by Andersson.
But he made the stop there on Sissons to take away the potential 5-4 goal.
Wasn't a given that Andersson would be the goalie when the playoffs began. It was a decision between him and Brandon Bussey. Nice shot by Svechnikov on the right leg. Flashed out by Hart. 6:10 to go. Tied at 4 in game 1 of the Stanley Cup final. Lobbed out by Hurdle and gloved back down and sent in by K'Andre Miller, native Minnesotan, played a couple of years at Wisconsin. Now Blake on the backhand, handled by Hart.
Well, that's a good save too.
Who will be the hero of game 1? Could well be next goal wins. Gostisbehere tied it. He passes it off for a Nikishin drive, and it's played out by Dylan Coghlan. It's the third deep here that hasn't played a lot for John Tortorella. Coghlan and Jeremy Lauzon. Jankowski moved it quickly. Robinson sends it in deeper. Coghlan with Robinson on the forward check. And the puck wound up with Nick Dowd. Center ice, a battle won by Kolesar. Now Gostisbehere. First player to play in a Stanley Cup final who was playing the NHL, was born and raised in South Florida. Karlsson moves it ahead quickly. Brett Howden now with under 5 minutes to go. 10 of the last 11 shot attempts have come from Carolina. The game-tying goal by Gostisbehere swung momentum back in their favor. Good stick by Chatfield. Howden resets with McNabb. Gostisbehere unassisted at 11:19. Officially the game-tying goal. 4.5 to go. Dorofeev won the puck. Dorofeev fires, and it's snatched by Frederik Andersen. Andersen off the pad of Frederik Andersen. Rasmus Andersson trying to keep it in. Like Frederik Andersen, he was very close with Claude Lemieux and a client as well. He's been rocked by emotion. Miller put it on net. Follow-up try by Jarvis. 4 minutes to go in a 4-4 tie. Hanifin, the puck bounced onto the last minute and he got dropped by Svechnikov. A big forward at 6'3", 200. Centering pass, Jarvis, robbed by Carter Hart. Controlled by Hertl. Then a very good face-off man in the playoffs, better than 61%. Boy, Sissons was open and Hertl missed him, or he would have gone in unimpeded. 3.5 to go. Hertl into the dot to Sissons. Back for Hertl. He scores! Tomas Hertl!
This is the 4th of 5 goals that started below the goal line for Vegas, and they're able to cycle the puck around and score. Really great work by Hertl to get that puck first. He and Sissons are going to cycle and exchange positions. Carolina plays a man-on-man defense. If you get beat out of the corner, you cannot deny the slot. Gostisbehere is beat by Hertl, and Hertl, who's come alive, has given Vegas a 5-4 lead.
And palpable anxiety here at Lenovo Center now. 4th of the playoffs. They've come in rapid succession after the 29-game goalless drought ended. Tomas Hertl, the 32-year-old Czech. Miller, headmans, touched by Carrier. Lauzon on it. Under 3 minutes to go. Sissons and Theodore the assists. What a night for Theodore. A goal and 2 assists. Miller sends it in deep. Lauzon up for Carlson. Stopped by Jarvis, who just came over the boards in the nick of time for Carolina. Marner kept it in, but didn't click with Howden. And now Jarvis with under 2.5 to go. And we'll keep an eye on Frederik Andersen. Trouble with the puck for Ehlers. Now Howden. Ehlers got a little tied up with Chris Rooney to the chagrin of the crowd. Jarvis moved it off for Chatfield. Harassed to the red line by Howden. Still can't get it in. Battle for the puck, and now Howden does get it in, keeping Andersen in the net with under 2 minutes to go.
This is a great job of checking here in the last 45 seconds by Vegas. Their D are now way back in the neutral zone. They got 5 back. Here goes Andersen.
He's out. The net is empty. The extra attacker is on. Vegas scored 3 empty net goals in 4 games in the sweep of Colorado. Aho missed Walker. He's going to have to track it down back behind the net as the clock goes down to 1:25 in regulation. Does Carolina have the answer again in a classic game 1? Miller hard around. McNabb there. Shot the length of the ice and wide by Theodore for an icing call with 1:06 to go. Finally dropped in a clean win by Stahl. Back to Jarvis. That is blocked and rolling back into the Carolina end with under a minute to go. Gostisbehere for Ehlers. Stopped at the red line. Up in the air. Batted down by Smith. The net is empty. He's double teamed. Taken off the puck. Down to 40 seconds. The Ehlers pass blocked. Stahl used his strength to win the puck after a stick lift. McNabb around. Stone slammed into the wall by Stahl. 30 seconds to go. Vegas by a goal. Ehlers. Gostisbehere has room. Gostisbehere stopped by Hart. Stahl won it cleanly to Blake, and now Stankovic. And the puck is lost by Stankovic. Turning is Ehlers with some room. Blake centers, nobody there for Carolina. It is banked out by McNabb. It'll be icing with 5.6 to go. Sissons better than 70% of the playoffs. Lost it. Stankovic moves it. Nikishin a drive. from the corner. Hall trying to throw it on net. The Vegas Golden Knights win game one in dramatic fashion. Their 7th straight win in these playoffs. 5-4 is the final.
2 more goals in the third period for Vegas. Man, they get it done when the chips are on the line here. We talked about the face-off and what the play might be. Nikishin can really unload it. Stankoven's pass is on the tee, and this shot goes through. Marner's going to try and block it. Actually, he's trying to get out of the way of it, and it ends up hitting him in the knee, and it's a good thing it does, because this puck is labeled past hard on the blocker side. A perfect play, a block by Vegas, and a win on the road in game one.